Hi everyone, I'm here at Sally Wilson's home in Balmain, and she is the granddaughter of James Walker. That's right, isn't it?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, so she's invited me to come to her home, and we're going to have just a chat about the Walker's family and have a look at some wonderful stuff that she's got here today. So, hello.
Okay, off we go.
Off we go.
Off we go, yes.
So,
I'll get these. I might put these out of the
yeah,
way.
that's okay. So what we've got here is, actually, let's go to the beginning. So, your grandfather was James Walker.
Yes, and then he died in 1935, and I was born in 1934, so I never actually knew him, you know, he was only a baby. And my father didn't talk about his family an awful lot, so we don't have a lot of stories from him, a few, but not many. So what we know of James is, I've never been able to find his entry to Australia, so I don't know when he came here. We think about the 1870s.
Why is that? Is it just a missing piece
Well,
of the
because I
puzzle?
think he came, my thoughts about it are that I think family stories said he ran away from home as a young teenager. And I think he came out as crew on a ship because the crews were often not documented. So I think that he ran away from home and worked his way out here on a ship. There's nothing to prove it, but that's what I think must have happened. And then we know from his obituary that he did a lot of things. He went to Fiji when they were building sugar mills.
Yeah, I read that.
We know that he went to the Coolgardie goldfields.
Yeah.
And he must have done all right there. The story my dad said was that when he got to the goldfields, he thought it was unlikely that you'd make money out of digging, you know, and you'd make more money out of bringing in the goods that they needed.
Right.
You know, food and water and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's how he made his money from the goldfields.
Right. So not for digging and searching
No,
for
he
gold,
thought
but
that was...
supplying the picks and shovels and the food. And,
Yes,
wow,
yes.
very clever.
Mainly, I think, food and water and stuff.
Yeah.
The water had to be taken in, you know, to Coolgardie. They didn't have water.
Wow.
They used to
Maybe
take it in.
Brought the water in, made money.
He might, who knows? But then he got back to Bathurst, and it seems that he spent that money investing in a brewery. And I think it was, I'll have to read it again, it was at the Orange one I think he bought first.
Yeah.
Bathurst one.
What it says in the Breweries of Australia is that he had the Bathurst Brewery, and then in about 1908, I think it was, he bought the interest of the breweries in Orange.
Right.
I think that's
Yes, because I know they were living in Bathurst when my father was born, 1899.
So your father Keith was
Born in Bathurst.
So okay.
Yes, I don't know where Douglas was born. I suppose I could get his birth certificate, couldn't I? That would say.
Yeah.
But I've got a photograph of the house he was born in Bathurst. It's still there.
The
Exactly
house
as
is
it
still
was.
there in Bathurst.
Yes, I can show you a picture of that.
Yeah.
You want to see?
Yeah, if you've got it there.
Yeah, I've got it right here. Got that one here. I've done both my father's and my mother's stories. So my father's one, it's my dad.
So
that's the house he was born in Bathurst. It's still there.
Okay.
I went up and took the picture.
That's Keith.
That's my dad, Keith, yeah.
Wow, it's a good looking bloke.
Yeah, he died at 60.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the house he was born in Bathurst.
Oh, some beautiful houses.
Still
in
there,
Bathurst.
yeah.
That's still there, wow.
Yeah, I took that picture. I went up and took the picture.
Did he build that, or was it already
I
there?
don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you could look into that with the council.
Well, we lived in Kelso. When you come into Kelso, there's a service station on the left-hand side. We used to own that, and the restaurant, run the restaurant there.
Oh, okay. Where's Kelso?
Just when you come into...
into Bathurst. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
We've got little pictures of Dad as a baby in the pram and that.
Wow.
And my dad as a little boy.
Yeah. So Keith didn't have any interest in the breweries at all, as far as you know?
No, well, I tell you what, my father's story, he grew up when they were in this big house in Vaucluse as a boy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they
so
were...
born in Bathurst and then...
Yeah. First of all, they lived in Glebe.
Yeah.
and that house is still there.
So Bathurst to Glebe,
Yeah,
then to
and then to Vaucluse.
Right.
And when my dad was growing up, he just, one of those boys who liked anything fast, motorbikes, cars,
Yeah.
anything fast he liked. So we always had a car.
Wow, look at the cars. Incredible.
Always had a car, he had a speedboat. And this is after he gets together with my mum. But I think that James thought, this fellow's got to settle down.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just what I've understood from looking at it.
So James said, Keith's got to settle down.
And went up and bought him a business in Casino,
Yeah,
little town on the north
I
coast.
saw that written there.
So he bought him that business. I think my dad was about 22, and told him to settle down and work out how to run a business. And my mum married him thinking he was a rather smart young fellow who, roundabout town young fellow.
Yeah.
He never moved from Casino, stayed there for the rest of his life.
Wow.
And my mum thought she'd married this guy who'd be, going all over the place. They they went around the world on their honeymoon, and then they came back and he never left Casino. He stayed there.
So she got better than your mum.
A little bit, yes, a little bit.
So, go flying around the world with her.
So then it goes on to sort of his story with my mum, which you're not so interested in, but somewhere here I've got a picture of me and Douglas when they were...
So what's this here? That's the whole story of your dad?
This is my whole dad's story. I've written
So
my dad's story here.
Like a biography of your dad?
Yeah, I've researched everything here. I've researched.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
That's very cool. You never see that happen.
Well, I do. And that's my mum and dad on their trip around the world. He loved anything that went fast, he loved.
Yeah.
So they went around the world, all around the place, Venice.
Wow.
And then Casino. But I'll go on to find, there's a picture of, and he loved this. I always kept this because it was an article of a Sydney to Melbourne race with a car and an aeroplane raced.
Wow. I'll get a close-up on the camera.
Yeah.
I'll get a close-up later on of these
Okay,
things
yeah.
here, but look at that.
Yeah.
So it was a race from Sydney
to Melbourne, I think, yeah. With a plane and a
Melbourne
car.
record on Plume Motor Spirit. So
1924.
So who's in the...
No, well, my dad's not. He just would have followed it. He always kept those.
Know. Just imagine that
Yeah.
race. So the plane was racing the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah.
What your
So
story
all
of
these
that.
things I just keep in there. I thought this is a good way of working with a text on this side and the pictures I stick on the other one. Yeah.
So what do you intend to do with this? Just keep it as
This is just for my family.
Yeah, so it can be passed down through
Yeah.
kids and stuff like that? Wow.
My dad raced speedboats. That was his mechanic.
Look at the
fellow.
boat.
He loved it. And somewhere here I've got a picture of, this is he and Douglas.
Oh, okay. So Keith,
Walking in the city. That's Keith, my dad, and that's Douglas.
love the way the guys used to dress up in those days. They were very
Yes.
smart.
They
The
were
hats
just
and the
the,
ties. And,
Yeah, the photographer just used to snap you, walking
Yeah.
down the street in Sydney. And
so that's in...
1935, yeah.
So that's just after, after the brewery. So the casino, the operation that James bought for...
It was a general
Dad,
store
it
in
was a general
Casino.
store in Casino. Yeah, because I noted that. I saw that written in...
That's right, yes.
I mentioned in one of the books.
Yeah. And my dad married my mum. Her father had a general store that I think my dad bought out of it. Then I did my mum's story.
That's your mum. So you've done your mum's story as well.
Yeah, it's a mum's story is the other half of the book, yeah.
Wow.
It's my mum's family. Isn't that a great photo?
Wow.
The family she came from, that's her there.
Wow. So where's that?
Casino.
Oh, that's in Casino.
Yeah, so her family was sort of pioneers up in that area. I love those old photographs.
Oh, awesome.
I could never work out how they got them all clean and tidy and dressed at the same minute.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Everybody's dressed up. And ties and beautiful photos.
Isn't it a great one? Yeah, I love that. That's
amazing that you've done that.
Yes, and then I've done my mum's one. Yes, I'm slowly doing everyone.
Yeah.
Connected with the family. So I've done, that's my dad.
Yeah.
And then over here I've got whatever I've done on James.
On James, yeah.
That's Annie Montgomery. Oh, James. This is what I've done on James. That's just reprinting his obituary from the Sydney Morning Herald.
Yeah.
That one which you've read.
Yeah.
And then I've just done whatever I...
So James Walker, a history.
Yeah. Well, just all that I know, that's all.
Yeah. You wouldn't mind if I get a copy
No,
of that
no,
later?
not at all, no.
So this will all go into the book and the little mini movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's great that you've done this. It's fantastic. I never ever thought that I'd really delve into history and stuff like that. I'm absolutely loving it. Because he bought out a brewery in this area as well, the Leichhardt.
Leichhardt, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to try and discover where that was.
Well, it was, I think you'll find,
Whether there's any
that
bottles.
big orange building that's there. What's it called now? Is where it was. This great big orange building.
Yeah.
I don't think exactly where it was. But I've got a photo of where they lived in Glebe.
Yeah.
While he must have decided to branch out down to Sydney and push. Actually, I've just remembered a story my father told me about him. When he was James, because, he bought up breweries and then came down and had a brewery here in Leichhardt, and he intended to sell to one of the big tooths or twoies. And so he would go around Sydney and bribe the barmaids with silk stockings to push his beer, so his sales figures would go up.
He did that.
He did that. Yeah. And the other thing he told me, my dad, when they had the meeting, he was going to sell out to Tooths, I think, and it was a meeting with their board of directors, and he went in with his little briefcase papers, and he sat down at the board, and they made him an offer, and he just folded his papers up, put them in his briefcase, and walked out, and waited till they made a better offer.
Smart entrepreneur.
Now, those business skills have not emerged in the family yet since. We're waiting.
You're waiting for that to come alive.
Yeah.
And then interesting that you used to bribe the barmaids with silk stockings.
Yes.
Maybe that's what they'll have to do at Dan Murphy's store when the beer comes out. Bribe all the staff.
Maybe.
But they're all guys, they're all blokes. So.
Yes.
Or maybe when the girls come in, try to convert the girls across to the beer, we can give them silk stockings.
Yeah, it was such a thing.
It might be a crazy thought, but we might do it.
When the first silk stockings hit Sydney, my mother-in-law, my father's mother, was a young girl about 14 or something, and she had a job. No, she was at the tech studying, I think. And the first silk stockings came in. Her father had given her the rent money to pay on her way home, and the first silk stockings had come in, and she bought the silk stockings instead of paying the rent. So they must have been a big... Those first silk stockings.
They make silk stockings now.
They're all nylon.
Yeah, there's no such thing as silk stockings.
Wow, just imagine if they... I wonder if they look like silk stockings.
Well,
I wonder why they're not being made.
Yeah.
They would have felt beautiful.
Oh, they would have felt
nice,
beautiful. They would have been very, probably delicate as well.
That's right. Not as strong.
No. And the old song that says, in some days there was something shocking like the first silk stockings. What's that? Frank Sinatra, that anything goes. Yeah.
Oh, so there's a song.
Yeah, it's a Frank Sinatra
You'd know the
song.
song.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll try and find that as well.
In olden days, something was looked on as something shocking. The first silk stocking was looked on as something shocking. Yeah, that's right.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've got it.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice
See you
to meet
later.
Yeah, we'll catch up again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my sister will be here soon, I think.
That's okay.
So
all right.
there's
So
James.
when he sold, what I want to try and do too is when he sold the breweries, try and find some records. I've done a little bit of research to see if there's any books that are, because he publicly listed the company as well, where shareholders were putting money into the company. So there's got to be records, and I think the New South Wales Library said that there's records there that they've found.
Yeah.
So when I do discover anything that I discover about the brewery or whatever,
You can put it in, yes.
I'll give it to you, make copies and give everything to you. So everything that I do, I'll make copies and
share
give it to you.
it. Well, he must have made money then when he sold out to the big guys.
Yeah, well, you have to.
And I think that's when he must have built
Okay.
this place and moved there. And then what he did with his money then, we're not sure, but my father said he put it into sort of entertainment, you know, there were a lot of theatres in Sydney then.
Yeah.
And
So he was a serial entrepreneur.
yeah, but then he sort of he must have lost money in the Depression.
Yeah.
And so they must have had to sell that, and they built the little block of flats in Manly.
Right, because his estate would have had nothing in it then.
Yeah.
When he passed away.
Well, he would have had some things, because I know my dad
Yeah.
and his brother in the block of flats in Manly.
Yeah.
But I mean, he made fortunes and lost fortunes. And
Yeah, that's
one of those sort of people. Yeah.
entrepreneurial landscape. So okay, so I'll get a close up of this later, but so from Bathurst to Glebe,
Yes.
and then Glebe to Vaucluse. So this is a photo which we'll get a close up of later on. This is the house in Vaucluse that James Walker built, and as you can see, it's an amazing property with ocean views and not many houses around, but
there was bush.
yeah. But sadly, they after the premises was sold, they knocked this beautiful house down, which was just amazing, because it would have been standing there today and it would have been just an absolute lovely house. So we'll get a close up of that, and then we've also got this map here, Vaucluse water frontage, Vaucluse and Parsley Bays. This is 1904, so James purchased lots 1 and 2, I believe, here, right at the end of this point. So one day I'll drive over to that area and have a look at where this is, because looking at this map I just don't know exactly where it is.
Well, I'll tell you how to find it when you go there. You know Parsley Bay? You know
Yeah.
Parsley Bay. There's the little suspension bridge over,
Yeah,
a little walking bridge.
yeah,
And if you walk over there, it's on the point.
it's on the point.
Point nearest the city, yeah.
Wow.
Nearest the city.
So I wonder who
Yeah.
owns that now. But any interesting, so some old stuff here.
Yeah.
And then this one here is the Rain and Horn Proprietary Limited Vaucluse Real Estate auction brochure. So as you can see, we'll close up later on, this beautiful building inside. So it was auctioned on the 3rd of the 6th, 1971. And what was it sold for?
Oh, I can't remember.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But beautiful home, and like I said, sad thing is it's knocked down, and somebody has built another house, probably a modern house, on the top of it.
And then that was knocked down, and then another one built.
That house was knocked down, then another one. Well, that's
Yes,
generally how it goes
Yeah,
in
that's
that
how
area.
it goes, yeah.
And the house that's there now will be knocked down. And
Yeah,
the other one.
that's
So,
right, yeah.
so some great stuff that's there about the home, and when James passed away, was it after he sold that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. He was at Manly, in the flats at Manly.
Alright, so they built the flats in Manly,
Yeah.
in Wentworth.
Wentworth Street.
Wentworth Street. I think the
yes.
flats are still there.
No, they've recently been knocked down.
They've been recently knocked down, yeah. Oh, that's
A very ugly block of flats, I have to tell you. Just a little block, you know.
yeah. So that's sort of in the heart of Manly, because I did a Google.
Right in the middle, in the heart, yes.
Google Earth. Now, what we have over here too is a postcard that was written by Keith.
No, Douglas.
By Douglas, that
To
was sent to Keith. So, and that's Sally's father. So Douglas was in San Francisco on the 5th of October.
Of April, wasn't it?
March. 5th,
Oh, March, that's right.
5th of March.
Yeah. 1906.
1906. So on the 5th of March, 1906 in San Francisco, Douglas sent this to Keith. And that's a photo of Douglas there. So we'll have a close-up of that. But beautiful handwriting, very old postcard. And the handwriting style is very similar to the Yesteryear Brewing Company's theme. And the font that we use, which is in connection to this. But beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So the earthquake was after that, was it?
The next month. He was still there. He was caught in it.
Wow.
And lost everything but what he stood up in.
Wow.
And had to work his way back home.
So what was Douglas doing in San Francisco? Why did he go to San Francisco?
I don't know, but I think maybe he might have been looking into brewing equipment. Because James went to America at one stage while he was on the Bathurst Council.
Right.
He took leave to go to America.
Yep.
And that was at the time he was acquiring the brewery. So I've always assumed he went to look at brewing equipment.
Okay. And how long was he in San Francisco for, I wonder?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. And James also went to San Francisco as well.
Well, he went to America. I don't know
America.
where. I only saw that looking in the Bathurst, a history of Bathurst that somebody did. Must have been a history of the council.
Yeah.
And that they just noted that he asked for time off to go to America.
Yeah.
From the council.
Okay. And just for the records too, James was an alderman and also a mayor for Bathurst for a period of time. I think it was a short period of time.
Yeah. Wasn't elected mayor, but he held the mayoral seat.
Yeah, the mayoral seat. So we're going to find a bit more information from the Bathurst Historical Society as well, because I believe James also built some bridges in
Yeah,
in
they
Bathurst.
say,
They say that.
yeah,
So I'm going to get that validated. And
When he married, on his marriage certificate, he describes himself as a contractor.
all right.
I've got their marriage certificate.
Contractor.
There, yeah.
All right. So you got the birth certificate and the marriage.
I haven't got his
certificate as
birth
well.
certificate because I could never find it in Scotland. But I've got his
But
marriage
can it be
certificate.
found? The birth certificate? I suppose it could.
Well, I've been trying, but he's got such a common name. That's the trouble, and I don't know where he was born.
Yeah.
But this is what is this? This is his marriage certificate to Annie Montgomery, the Bathurst girl, a Bathurst girl.
Okay, so this is the marriage certificate
Yeah.
of James Walker.
James and Annie, who was
so
a Bathurst girl.
so Annie Elizabeth Montgomery
Yes.
was born in Bathurst, and he married.
No,
Bathurst.
Annie Elizabeth was born. It took me a long time to find her birth certificate,
Yeah.
and eventually the reason was because she was just registered as unnamed female infant. Unnamed female infant, and that is her. So
Wow.
Annie, who James married,
Yeah.
Annie Montgomery. This is her birth certificate, which I eventually found because she didn't have a name.
So that's your grandmother.
Yeah,
Right.
James's wife, and her father was drowned at the age of 27, not long after she was born.
So date of marriage was 7th of October 1882. That's when he got married. So he
Yeah.
was 26, and your grandmother Annie was 24.
Yes.
So
She was described as a dressmaker, I think.
Yeah, it says dressmaker. So at the time of the marriage, James Walker was here occupation contractor.
Yeah.
And then Annie was a dressmaker.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, the dressmaking skills got handed down, so that's something that.
So James's father then was Peter.
Yeah,
Walker.
Peter Metcalf.
So your great grandfather was
yes.
Peter Walker.
Yeah.
And then there's Vincent Douglas Montgomery. Oh,
Yeah,
that's the,
no, Vincent
the
Douglas.
father's name.
Vincent Douglas was the father of Annie,
Yeah, that's right.
and he was another mystery
Yeah.
because I've got Annie's birth certificate where she's still unnamed,
Yeah.
but on the birth certificate he gives details of his parents, which turned out to be totally fabrication because I looked into it. So he said he was born in Barbados in the West Indies, and he said his father, where is it? In one of his certificates he said his father was in the 24th Regiment or something of the British Army, and I had an army researcher in London. Look, there's no such person ever. So he made the whole thing up.
Made the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Telling a few lies.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, is it? When you look at these things, yeah.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing, Sally. When you go through all this stuff, you dig up some, great stories.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
some fabulous stuff. So that's cool. So
that's Vincent Douglas.
So Peter Walker, his
Yeah.
dad,
Yes.
which was a great grandfather,
Yeah.
which is his father.
Yeah.
he
I
would have
might
been-
try and find them in the new census that the
Yeah, he would have been born and lived in Scotland.
yes,
Right.
we don't know where.
Don't know where. So you've still got a bit of
Yeah.
going. Okay.
yeah.
What else have we got? Anything else?
Well,
there?
then I wrote the story of his wife Annie.
Yeah.
We
nice.
did have a picture of her as an old lady.
And there's a wonderful photo. So
of my
this
elder
is
sister,
James's James's wife.
Yes.
Annie.
And she's holding my elder sister. She went up to the little country town to see what sort
Oh,
of
right.
grandchild she had.
So this is your elder sister, and
Yeah.
this is
That's Annie Montgomery, James's wife.
yeah, and your elder sister's name
Shirley.
Shirley. That's right.
Now Shirley has got a beautiful picture of Annie as a young woman. She's
Wow.
got that beautiful
So Shirley's up in
Brunswick Head.
Brunswick
yes,
Head,
yes.
so I've got to go up there and interview her at some stage. So
Okay, yes.
we've spoken on the
Yeah,
phone, and she's told me
yeah.
lots of stuff.
So that's a little bit of background on Annie
Yeah.
Montgomery
Wow.
and what I know of her, which is quite a story. Yeah.
So with James, anything else that any other stories that you know of? What I've read about James. Interesting. He was very entrepreneurial, serial
Yes.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know, Fiji,
Oh yes.
the gold mines. You know, whatever he did with that, it seemed like that every step that he did was
Yes.
going to bigger things. And,
That's
and,
right,
and
yes.
by all accounts, it says that he also bought out most of the breweries in that central western
Yes.
area of New South
Yes,
Wales.
yes,
So
yes.
if he built this house,
That's
then
right,
he was very, very wealthy. And
Yes.
when yeah,
So my dad said that when they lived there, they entertained lavishly. They often had anything up to 30 people on a Sunday.
wow. So 30 people would come to this house.
Yeah.
It's here, and they would.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think he put his money into theatre and early films and things, and that's maybe how he lost it in the Depression. yeah.
Wow.
No proof of that, but that's just what
Yeah,
my
just an
dad said,
assumption.
yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
just what your dad said.
Yeah.
So he would have been pretty, like, to have a house in Vaucluse like that, he would have been very well connected with probably politicians and business people, but that's just an assumption that you can make.
Oh, Dad
But-
said his friends all said he was mad to build so far out of town.
So far out of town.
Yeah. Because it's bush. My dad used to shoot scrub turkey up in the bush at Vaucluse.
Wow, so he used to shoot scrub turkey at Vaucluse.
Yeah, my father said my dad loved guns, speed, anything like that.
So this would have been, what year would this be?
Well,
Right.
no, sort of 19. I'll have to look through my records again.
So it would be 19,
Let's see.
because he sold the brewery interest in 1926
Yeah.
to Tui's.
Yeah, well, he would have been there then, of course, yeah.
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 So probably, around about sort of 19 up to 1940.
Yeah, 1929,
He
which
passed
is
away in, what year was it?
35. 29, when my mum and dad got engaged.
Yeah.
They've got pictures of visiting there. And so it must have been around about 30 or early 30s.
Yeah.
Which does tie in with the Depression
Yeah.
years, you know.
Yeah, so the Depression,
Yeah.
not that I know much about that Depression that was in Australia then, but any Depression is, can bring, any entrepreneur down to their knees and other people as well. So, okay. So anything else that you know of James and
Oh, I think that's
what
about
your
it.
dad might have said about James?
No, he didn't talk about his parents much at all. So, I always had a feeling that he maybe didn't get on with his dad all that well.
Yeah, I was going to
Yes.
say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
well, some families get strained
That's
like
right.
that.
I think my father was a quiet sort of guy.
Yeah.
And his father was an entrepreneur, with all that
Yeah.
goes with that.
Yeah.
And,
Controlling.
Yeah, that'd be
James.
right, yes. That'd be right, yes.
So
Yes,
with what do you know of Douglas? Because for the records,
Yeah.
James was the entrepreneur, business owner, bought up the breweries, but the brewer of the Walker's Brew. What do we know of Douglas?
That's right.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but I remember as a child that he had some sort of part-time job out at, was it Tooth's or Tooheys in Leichhardt,
Yeah.
the brewery, big brewery, and he used to go there maybe a couple of half days a week to check the brew, is what we were told
Wow.
as kids. So he must have had that, whether he had a chemistry background, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he kept connection with it in that way.
So he was the brewer in Orange.
I would
Yeah,
think so.
I
I
think
don't
so.
know for sure,
Yeah.
but he would have either been that or being trained to be that, I'd say. So he married an Orange girl,
Oh, so
Yes.
James. Actually, he married
Irene E. Dalton.
so he married a Dalton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the viewers, the Dalton family in Orange were very influential, very entrepreneurial. Built a lot of beautiful houses in Orange, and the Dalton store, general store, became a massive concern. And then when the railway was set up between Sydney and Orange, things prospered and they became very, very rich. So Douglas married
Married a Dalton, yes.
Dalton. What was her name again?
Irene.
Irene Dalton.
Yes, and I'm not sure, is that her name on the headstone? Because both she and my mother were called Irene, so my mother changed her other name Isabel.
I
but,
don't think it mentions Dalton on the headstone at South Head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't recall it. But okay, so
And they
James
yeah,
never lived in Orange,
not that
but he
not
probably
that I know of, except that in this,
he travelled up there quite a bit. Would he have to?
excuse me, in this book on the Fitzgerald Valley,
Yeah,
which takes in the family that James married into,
yeah.
they had a farm there, and in this diary, they occasionally say that James Walker came in on a horse from Orange going. He must have moved between Orange and Bathurst by horse,
Wow.
because there's a few mentions of
Could be a
that.
few days between Bathurst and
It
Orange.
would, yes.
on a
Well, they
horse.
didn't have cars, you know.
Yeah,
then,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so there are a few little mentions of him. If you give me a minute, I'll...
Yeah. So James never lived in Orange. Douglas, he didn't live in Orange.
He might have. I don't know.
So they resided in Bathurst. Well,
He
what,
must have
Bathurst?
lived in... He must have stayed in Orange, Douglas, and met and courted his
Yeah.
wife, I dare say.
Yeah,
But eventually, when the brewery came down to Sydney, I guess they moved to Sydney, to Manly.
yeah, because James, he was the mayor and did a lot of things in Bathurst. So he did
that's
live in
right.
Bathurst
Yes, yeah.
for a period of time. I wonder where he lived in Bathurst and how long he lived in Bathurst.
Douglas or James?
Well, James would have. So
James lived in the house that my
Oh, that
dad was
house there,
born
right.
in, yeah.
So
Yeah. Maybe Douglas lived there with them.
so Douglas, was Keith born and lived there then?
Keith was born in Bathurst.
In Bathurst, so
Yeah.
he would have been living there too.
Yeah, and Douglas was 16 years older than my
Okay,
dad.
so for the records,
Yep, yes.
and this is just trying to piece it all together. So when he owned the brewery in Bathurst and he bought the brewery in Orange, they would have travelled frequently between
Bathurst and
Bathurst and
Orange,
Orange.
yes.
But what we don't know whether or not the Walkers actually had a house and lived in Orange
We
as well.
don't know, no.
The photos that I'll show you later on, there's a big brewery in front of it, 78 Mulder Street. There's the administration cottage, and there's another house that was built next to it. So maybe at some point they lived there. So interesting. Yeah, and it's a funny connection too that my last name's Fitzgerald, and it comes into the equation that Fitzgeralds were part of the Walker family.
Well,
Is that right?
No, I got that wrong. It was in the Fitzgerald Valley
The
where
Fitzgerald
it happened.
Valleys, which is just outside of Bathurst.
Bathurst,
apparently.
yes.
Something that I
And,
didn't know, but it was a discovery.
Yeah. And that's where James's wife came from.
All right.
Yeah, that's another big story.
Yeah.
Another whole big story.
One story after another.
Yeah, that's
so James,
right, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so James's wife, which was
Annie.
Annie,
Yes.
came from the Fitzgerald's Valley.
Yeah, yeah.
How crazy is that?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, and he was
And
Tony Fitzgerald on the journey to bring back to life the Walker's beer. And
yes.
there's a connection with the Fitzgerald name.
yeah.
Wow.
Funny, isn't it? You've probably got ancestors that's probably called after
Well,
Fitzgerald Valley.
Yeah, I'd like to
You
have
should
a
look at that.
skip through that and have a look at it and see if there's anything there, because we have the family history tree of Fitzgeralds all the way back to the fifth generation. My great grandfather came out in 1842 from Ireland. Yeah, so okay. So what else do we know of Douglas? So
See, Douglas, we don't know much.
about?
Well, he married the Dalton girl. They had only one child.
Married into a very rich family.
Yes.
Very rich family back then.
Yes.
And the Daltons still have reunions, and they're massive reunions.
Yeah,
I think
that's
in the last
right.
2 or 3
Millions
years,
of them. Yeah.
the Daltons had a big reunion in Orange. It was in the
Yes.
papers and that sort of stuff. So
That'd be right. Well, they lived very quietly,
yeah,
Douglas and Irene, and they had one daughter who married during the war, an American army guy.
yeah.
Went to America and never ever came back. Not for her parents' funerals, nothing. She stayed in America. And
So Douglas had a daughter
one
that
daughter,
married
that's all.
an American guy here in
Yeah.
Australia, and then went to America to live, and no one knows.
she had one child.
One child.
Who was in a car accident as a teenager and became a paraplegic.
Wow.
So maybe that's why she could never travel back, I don't know. But I don't know, she must be dead by now.
Yeah,
Her
yeah.
name was Ruth.
Ruth. Okay, Ruth Walker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was older than my older sister Shirley.
Actually, isn't she buried at the
No, she's not.
cemetery?
No, not Ruth. No, she.
No.
If she's.
Oh no,
Yeah.
she's not.
Yeah.
I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so
So we don't know much about Douglas.
so Douglas only had one, and then Keith, which is your dad,
Yeah.
had
3 daughters.
3 daughters.
Yeah.
So James had 2 sons.
2 sons,
That's it.
16 years apart.
16
yes.
years apart.
Yes.
So James had 2 sons, 16 years apart.
Yes.
And what was that thing you were saying about the 16 years apart?
Oh,
Someone questioned why.
That's right. He used to say, I like to get one at work before I have another.
So James's
yes.
thing was to get one to work
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
them paying for
Yeah.
another wise entrepreneurial move there.
Yes.
Get them, paying their way, and then
That's
bring
right,
another
yes.
another kid into the family,
Yep.
into the fold. Wow,
Yes.
some
No,
amazing
yes.
stuff. So
Yes.
okay, so I think that's probably as much as we
As
can.
much as
sort of-
we can, I think it's as much as we can do here.
Yeah, a lot of assumptions about what either James or Keith or Douglas did, but with Keith you've got a very good record.
Keith, I've got the full
Yeah, so-
record.
But Douglas,
Douglas,
nothing really
no.
much on Douglas.
No.
So we can't assume at this stage that he was permanent brewer at the Walker's
No.
Brewery in Orange. Maybe there was, a permanent brewer that was there, but he had an influence, and he did work with some of the breweries here in Sydney.
Yes, he did. We know that he did. Yes.
Yeah, and those breweries again were the Tooths.
Was it Tooths, isn't it? In Leichhardt,
in Leichhardt?
Parramatta Road. There's a big orange building there.
Because the Leichhardt Brewery must have
Yeah,
been
that-
bought out. That was owned by the Walkers, bought out by Tooths.
That's it. Yeah, that's where he held back for the good price. Selling
Oh,
that to
right.
them, yeah.
Okay, so there was no other breweries that I know of that they owned in Sydney. It was the Leichhardt Brewery. I don't think any others.
Well, Marshall's was the one. Was that still the name of the one from Orange and Bathurst?
Yeah, Marshalls could
Marshalls.
be, but anyway, yeah. So that's once again another story. Lots of research can go into the Leichhardt Brewery and what they did there, and what brands of beer and what styles of beer they actually brought out there. So the story just is not ending here. It's just an ongoing story, which is going to be fantastic. So, what else? I think that's probably
I think that's about it. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
It always
right.
shows you how much you don't know, doesn't it, when you start to do this?
Yeah. So, thanks for sharing all that. It's fantastic, and we'll sign off now. And it was lovely, Sally. Thanks very
Nice
much
to
for
meet
inviting
you
me in
too,
your
Tony.
home and
Yes,
sharing the
yes.
stories. And maybe there might be some other stories that come up when
There
I go
might,
up
yes.
to Shirley and see
That's
her.
right, yes.
And the other sister too, which is
Sue.
Sue's coming
Yeah,
down to
yes.
have tea and
That's
coffee with
right,
us.
yes. I'm not sure, but I seem to think Sue's got some sort of sign from the old brewery.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I seem to
okay,
know
well,
she's
that'd be
nice
cool.
ears.
Okay.
Okay, radio.
I'll show you my other stuff now.
I'll put mine to the
Now what I'm doing is just showing Sally just some of the old things that I've collected, photos and stories about the Walkers and the brewery in Orange. So we're just going to ramble on here and chat and just film. Yeah, this photo was given to me by Shirley Duckworth, and Shirley Duckworth is a lady who, at the age of 14, lived in 78 Mulder Street, which is basically the house in front of the brewery. So this house
I see.
here,
Yes.
this is 78 Mulder Street. So she lived in this house at 14, and her father and her uncle actually worked in the brewery. So she gave me this photo, and she, this is the only photo that's a real cracking photo of the Walkers. So this is in Peasley Street in Orange, and that building's still there.
Oh, yes.
This building in the background here, that's a Dalton's flour mill.
Oh,
So
okay.
not only did they own a general store, the Daltons,
Yeah.
but they owned a lot of property. They were very, very wealthy, the
Yeah.
richest people in Orange.
Wow.
So you've got a photo here now. This person up here, I think, is the uncle of Shirley Duckworth.
Oh, okay.
And they used to call him the brewery boy.
Oh,
And
okay.
apparently there was some reason why they called him the brewery boy, which we have to find out. But whenever the horses and the barrels of beer were coming out of the brewery, the barrels of beer here, the father would have too much to drink, and the brewery boy would have to lead the horses and the carts and the barrels back to the brewery.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, so this guy here is a Hurl, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is just all assumptions.
Yes.
So these gentlemen here, we don't know who they are. These gentlemen in the back, we don't know who they are. So there could be a possibility that any one of these guys here, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wouldn't be the tall one. I think he had a build rather like my father.
Yeah.
It would be more likely to be that.
So this could possibly be
Yeah.
Douglas.
Yeah. Or even
would-
James.
Or even James.
Ah,
So this is the thing that we don't know. I don't think there's anything on the
nothing
back.
on the back.
No. But it's a beautiful
It's
photo.
a great photo, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you look at the
It's
horses.
So that's how they got around with the horses. We forget, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think this was about 1908, somewhere
Okay,
around that period of time.
Yeah.
But when the brewery was in Mulder Street, in the corner of Hill and Mulder Street, then the beer was distributed through all the pubs in Orange and further out from Orange and Bathurst by horses and carts.
That's right,
'Cause, you know,
yes.
These barrels
And
here,
there's
so
the barrels, yeah.
large barrels.
Yeah, big kegs.
Yeah, so that's
That's a great one. That's fantastic.
yeah. So this is another fantastic photo, which is W.H. Elwin and Co. Standard Brewery. So this was the name of the brewery before James purchased
okay,
it. So
okay.
these guys ran the brewery as the W.H. Elwin and Co. Standard Brewery in Orange, and then James took over the operation. And then there was another house. This house still stands today.
Oh,
It's 78
is that where
Mulder
you
Street.
dug up in the backyard?
No, this is the backyard down here at the back of the brewery.
Yeah.
That's where we dug up the back of the brewery. But this house still stands. Believe it or not, it hasn't been lived in for
Wow,
30 odd years.
really?
Orange Council were
Yeah.
going to sell it
Yeah.
not so long ago because the lady that owns the property, she's a bit psycho, and
Yeah.
and the house is just in disrepair, and it's unlivable, and she hadn't paid her rates, and the Orange Council were actually going to take over the property and sell it to get their money back from rates, but she must have paid the money.
Oh, okay.
It's still in her hands, and I've videoed all that, but there's some other stuff.
chimney here.
Yeah, that's huge. It's a huge chimney, and apparently underneath the ground here there's springs,
Oh, okay.
and still today these trees or trees that are there in times of drought flourish, and they're very green, and all the people that own the houses that were built on top of the brewery say that the trees go down and tap into the underground spring.
The water.
So the underground
That's right.
springs that ran through underneath here,
Yeah.
there's 6 wells that we've actually discovered, which brings the water they were siphoned and then put through to the top of the brewery,
Oh,
and then the
right.
water would fill down, and then that's that's the
right.
process into the tanks.
Oh, right.
And then from there the beer
Yeah.
would be actually put into the barrels in this bottling section here. And I've got a map with the old brewery floor plan, but then the bottles would come down this section here, and then they'd be loaded on the carts for the horses,
right.
and then they'd come up here and come out the gate and probably through the back area. You can see this photo down here, there's loads of kegs of beer stacked up there. And then they come out on the carts. I don't know how many carts they had, and they'd be distributed through Orange.
Wow.
So when Walker's, you know, your grandfather took over that, and Douglas and so forth, it would have been still operating. Now there's interesting things, all these people here, and then there's ladies that are here too. Look at how they're dressed. They're all a couple of people up here hanging out at the.
Look at that.
Yeah, when you get a magnifying glass and you get up close, you can pick up on the little things.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
And look, he sits up on this high sort of seat here.
Yeah. So that photo there, this is how it all started. Time Warp. This was actually in the book, and this was published in 2008 in the Orange Photo. And when I saw that, I thought, wow, a brewery, and that's what led me on this fantastic
Started
journey.
it all off.
Yeah, started it all off. So I'll show you that bit later. Now, this here is an interesting photo. This,
I'll get my magnifying glass.
yeah, get your magnifying glass. Yeah. This is a photo.
So, look at it. Yeah.
So Douglas Walker, I think that may be him, because on the back of the card, this is a photo of a postcard. It says here, it says Orange Brewery. So you've got D. Walker, boss.
Oh, right.
So if you look at this here,
Could be him. I'll have a look.
and then Shirley Duckworth says that her dad, Thomas Charles Hurl, is in the centre with the hat on, holding 2 snowballs. So that
Oh, that's that. That's
guy
her.
there, that's her dad.
Yes. Okay.
So this possibly
Look like
there,
Douglas.
yeah, it's Douglas Walker.
Yeah, it does look like him.
Yeah. And then the other gentlemen that are actually in the photo. This is a photo in front of the Orange Brewery. Well, then it's Walker's Brewery, and it's snow-covered grounds. And we'll get a close-up of this as well. Having a snow fight in front of the brewery in Orange. So yeah, so we can make the assumption that Douglas Walker is that gentleman there.
Yeah.